Hello everybody, welcome to the channel, Miguel's Garage. Thank you for joining us. Today I have Rob Bennett here with us. He's owner and CEO of Bennett Cars, a family of cars. We got Jaguar.
Yes.
Let me see if I get it right. We got Land Rover, Maserati, Toyota, that's the bread and butter winner, right?
Yes.
And Infiniti, two of those.
Yes.
And did I get it all?
You got it all. You got it all.
All right, good. So as you can see in the background, Rob, he's got a great collection of cars and very good taste. I've seen you in a 458. Right behind you have a 488, which is the new Ferrari. I've seen him in a Aston Martin Vantage, a FF, a California, the 675 LT right behind us. So I'm going to ask him pretty soon about what does he think about the cars behind him? What's his favorite? So we're gonna talk about that, and then I want to talk about his daily driver as well, right? Once we get to the end, I'm gonna be offering you guys a coupon from Bennett. So you guys, if you're interested in buying a new car or a used car, you can use that and take advantage of a little bit of a discount. So Rob, do you mind telling us like just a brief story about your company? I know, and I've been dealing with Toyota back when it used to be in Hanover. I've been restoring a Supra for about 11 years now, and I bought a lot of parts from you guys. I used to work with Steve, who's now retired.
Yes.
A lot.
Steve Kloiber.
Yeah. So, would you mind telling us a little bit about your company history and?
Well, my father founded the company in 1951, and ironically, when we had a choice between a few different numbers for the address on Lehigh Street when we moved. 1951 was one of them, so it's 1951 Lehigh Street, which is the year we were incorporated. So my father was. I wasn't born yet. I was born in 1958. But you know, the car business is something, and we've shared this, you and I, that you know, we Americans and people that come to this country from wherever, you know, we kind of have this passion for automobiles. And while I'm going to college, I'm working part-time, you know, as the gopher, and you know, go do this, go do that, whatever nobody else wanted to do. I was stuck doing it, and that was fine because it gave me a complete 30,000 foot view, if you will, on what the car business was all about. So anyway, I'm working there part-time. Actually started at 14, moving cars around for my father, and then went to college, and then started selling cars, and just worked my way up to where I became president. And it just, you know, I'm blessed to be in a business that I absolutely love. Yeah. And in fact, my wife, in a very loving way, said to me, "Yes, you're never going to retire." I said, "No, I don't plan on retiring." And she said, "Well, that's probably a good thing, because what else would you do? What else you don't know anything else."
Absolutely.
And she said that in a very loving way, but she's right.
I wouldn't want to retire either. If you guys can see right behind us,
Yes.
Why would you want to retire, right?
You know, my father, I'll tell you an interesting story. At least I hope you find it interesting, and your viewers. But I went to Villanova, and my father would have an XJS, a V12 XJS Jaguar, and I swear he would look at his watch, get in the left lane of the turnpike, and bear in mind, he had something that I've never had, which I wish I had, and I had a few occasions to use it, but he had an honorary sheriff's badge, and it just so happened to be right where his license was. So we would open it up, they would see the badge and ask, "Oh, are you retired police?" And he would explain the badge and how he got it, and it was right where underneath it was his license. So every time he, you know, but anyway, we would get in the left lane, and I swear he would look at his watch to see that he beat his last best time, taking me back to Villanova. And I remember also as a kid, and you can relate to this, you always hope that, because I remember these girls to this day. Some of the co-ed girls were very pretty girls, and a lot of Latin Americans that from Panama. My roommate was from Panama, and I met. I came to realize that there's some beautiful Latin American women. And anyway,
I've been there a couple times. It's
unbelievable.
It's
nice. You know, they invite me to parties, and we play dominoes and drink, you know, rum, and it was great fun. It was a great experience, and you saw firsthand the importance of family and togetherness. But anyway, So I was always hoping that my father would pull into the dorm parking lot to drop me off, and that there would be one of these pretty co-ed girls seeing me getting out of one of these fancy cars, right? And the Jensen Interceptor was a hand-built car that was very, very special.
Those were not being built here at that point. Were
No.
they actually selling, or he had to special import
There
it?
was a distributor in New York, Max Hoffman
okay.
was his name, and he, I guess, traveled the world and found these little boutique car manufacturers like
wow.
Jensen, Lotus. At one time, my father had 14 import franchises. 14. TVR, Jensen Interceptor, Jensen Healy, Rover made a car at that point, Land Rover, Jaguar, MG, Triumph, Fiat, Lancia, Alfa Romeo, BMW he had at one time, Subaru.
That's back in the times when cars were not really a dealership of like Toyota. They were kind of like just foreign cars. They were all in one place. And
yes, exactly.
Okay.
And
Wow.
I remember one time seeing Bethlehem Steel hired a film crew because they had a documentary about how, at that time they were called foreign. Now we've progressed to import, and now really there's more American cars being built outside of the country than Japanese cars being
Right.
built in this country. So yet it's an American badge, but it's made outside of the country. So anyway, and that's a good thing. That's a wonderful thing. But anyway, so the Bethlehem Steel came to show their people, that there's this import, these foreign people come, like invading the country and all that. I remember my father, they filmed my father's dealership because he had all these franchises. But what I admired about my father, he was really in the forefront of bringing these cars into the Lehigh Valley. And I think that those cars, as it turned out, and he really was a visionary, because as it turns out, because of the competition from other manufacturers outside of this country, competition is good, competition is healthy. It made everybody better.
Right.
And those that weren't good, like MG,
They had
Triumph,
to push and strive to be.
yes,
Yeah.
and some of them couldn't make it, so they retreated from the country. And then some other brands, struggled a little bit. But it's nice to be able to give people an opportunity to, acquire different cars and give people choices. in life.
Absolutely.
So-
Absolutely. So I wanted to move on into the Toyota Mirai. You guys know that my company has a Toyota Mirai. It's not. It's only limited to California at this point because of the nature of the car. It's a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. But I know that your Toyota dealership services the vehicle, right?
Yes.
So was there any type of special training or tools or any kind of special lifts that you have to acquire?
No, but I did do my homework because you asked me about this, and I had no knowledge. So I'm so appreciative of the fact that you're aware of this, very much aware of it, and so you help me educate myself in terms of what we do. So
You just call me smart people.
yeah, absolutely,
Sorry,
absolutely. Email me if you have a different opinion. I'm sure that's not the case. But so anyway, there is a tool that we did not buy because, as you know, as you just said, they're only in California and they're rolling them out. Thank goodness for
Right.
Air Products. Big fan.
Right.
A shout out. I think that's what your audience probably says, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Air Products. But anyway, we're very, very blessed to be one of the 3 Toyota dealers in the Lehigh Valley to really be exposed to this, thanks to Air Products. And so anyway, it's a $10,000 one tool. One tool is $10,000, and it's the design. It was designed to make sure that there's no hydrogen escaping from the car. So our distributor, which is Central Atlantic Toyota in Glen Burnie, Maryland, is going to send 2 of their technicians up to work with us to our dealership to work on the car, because I think the 10,000 mile checkup is coming up. So we already scheduled it. I would welcome you to come and watch what they do or whatever you would care to do. And but there's going to be 2 technicians up there. Our guys aren't trained yet to work on the vehicle, and of course with just yours, we didn't spend the money for the tool.
Right,
we will have to at some point, and I think it'll be money well spent. And we're very, very excited about that. It's nice. I talked about my father being kind of innovative and ahead of the curve and whatever. Clearly,
That's what
Toyota.
this is. Absolutely. Yeah.
Toyota's very much, because this is it. This is and they're going this route instead of electric. Although they're in that technology too, with hybrid and totally electric vehicles. But this is really, really cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
absolutely.
So we're excited.
So I wanted to ask you about your first car. You know, we all have fun memories about our first car. Do you remember yours, or?
Yes, I'm glad you have fond memories of your first car. I don't of mine. My father, who had a great sense of humor, or so he thought, right? I couldn't make this up. There was a car, nobody your generation remembers these, but there was a car called an International Scout. And it was used by the Postal Service to deliver mail on rural routes.
Okay.
So my father happens to trade one. True story. And
I
as
see
you
where
can
this is
imagine,
going.
a mail truck, it was right-hand drive because it would pull up to the mailboxes on the right side of the road, right? And so it was right-hand drive, 3-speed on the column, and because it was a former mail truck, there were no other seats in the vehicle.
Right.
So I'll never forget this. He brings the car home, and of course my father has Jaguar and Peugeot and Alfa Romeo, Fiat, Lancia. Dad, it doesn't matter. I'll take any one of those cars.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm thinking. But I can't wait. Wow, and I turned 6, get my driver's license. So he comes home, he says, son, the car's out in the driveway. I run as fast as I can out there. What is this? So I said, Dad, I can't even take anybody with me. He said, Rob, you're not that good a driver. People aren't going to want to go with you. So you got to drive yourself. And I said, Dad, come on. I'm going out with my friend Howie. And Howie was this very big guy, right? And you know, overweight, big guy, heavy guy. So I said, well, I'm going to go pick up Howie, you know? And I said, this is embarrassing, Dad. But I made arrangements to go out with Howie, so I got to go get him. I said, where's he going to sit? Well, your mother has a kitchen chair in the basement. Go get a kitchen. So I get a kitchen chair, and as big as this guy was, he must have weighed 250 pounds. He gets in this thing, and I didn't know how to drive 3-speed on the column. So I jerked the thing. He goes flying out, and a lot of expletives later. He was out of the car. I said, that's it. I'm not going another block with you. So that was my first car, and I remember my father had so much fun at my expense. So no, it wasn't the Triumph, the Jaguar that I expected.
Yeah. My first car was, and I haven't told the people watching, but my first car was a Nissan Sentra, and it was horrible. It had it was dented everywhere. It was terrible.
You can't see this, but Miguel's sister's in the back going like, you know. So I think that says it all.
Yeah. So I wanted to, go into a very serious subject. You know, I'm a very professional guy. Do you mind if I take your McLaren for a ride?
No.
I try, guys. I'm sorry. So I'm going to ask him pretty soon about what does he think about the cars behind him. What's his favorite? So we're gonna talk about that, and then I want to talk about his daily driver as well, right? So what do you think? What do you think about? What are we thinking?
Miguel, the thing that amazes me, and I enjoy cars, right? I love my family, but I really enjoy cars. What's fascinating to me is that McLaren, Ferrari, Lamborghini are all competitors. Their cars are all priced very comparable. Mm-hmm. And yet, the way they're engineered, they're all completely different. Mm-hmm. So if you drive a Lamborghini, which is one outside of Huracan, and then get in the McLaren, roughly the same price, and then get into the 488, roughly the same price, they're 3 completely different cars. Mm-hmm. So to me, not just visually, they're distinctive, but when you drive them, they all drive, and that's the thing that's fascinating to me, with the same premise. So with the clean slate of paper, and that says, okay, you have a steering wheel, you have a transmission, you have an engine, you have 4 tires, and all these common denominators. Yet the finished product is completely different than all the competition. That to me is fascinating. That engineers are able to design and build cars that are so different than anything else on the road. So that to me is quite different. And I'm not an engineer, I have no engineering background, but the suspension, the ride of the cars is very, very different. So that's a hard question. I guess somebody said something to me one time that isn't me at all, because they said, oh, with this car you're going to be like a rock star. I guess if I'm in a mood where I'm feeling I'm having a tough week or a tough day, I guess you get, because it's an expression. The car you drive is kind of an expression of who you are. It almost becomes part of your personality. And I had those people that it's a car, it's transportation from A to Z. I may not be able to relate to that comment, but I respect them because that's fine. It's a means of transportation. It's never been that to me. It's kind of says something about me, so if I'm having a tough day, I suppose the green, whatever they call it, is a fancy Italian name for the green Lamborghini that I guess picks up my spirits.
Right. And not to mention the V10 right behind you. That might help. Wake you up in the morning, right?
Yeah. and it's the six. I guess the car from a performance perspective, the car that I like the most that we currently have is the 675 LT, because when you hit the gas, you literally have to hold on to the steering wheel because it's just like being shot out of a cannon. It literally is. I think but then I'm an older guy, as you can tell, and so a GT probably is more fitting for me as an everyday driver. It's a little tough, quite honestly, to get in and out of these cars that have the gull wings. But and I guess somebody said, so I'm plagiarizing what somebody else had written or stated, that my favorite car is my next one. Because we have a bunch of cars on order. You have to come back, and when we're not on air, I certainly would welcome you to drive any of these cars, because during this process I've become a fan.
Sorry.
So, but we have an F12 TDF that's in production, which is a really, really, really special car, and then we have a GTC4 Lusso that's in production. And then there's a Lamborghini Miura, which is a special car, an Aventador Miura they call it. They made 50 of them, and
I was just at the Lamborghini Museum, and they had the Miura concept, which I'll put a picture of it. Beautiful. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it seems like now McLaren is the new Ferrari in terms of performance and stiffness and whatnot, and it seems like Ferrari is now moving to Aston Martin territory, where it's more of a gentleman's car, comfortable to drive in. And if you're spending that kind of money, wouldn't you want that, just to kind of drive around in comfort and have the performance and the entire package, right? It looks beautiful, drives well, right? I mean, but now if you want a track machine, right now McLaren is killing everything, absolutely everything. So I agree with that.
I guess the other consideration, honestly, especially from our perspective, because the cars are all owned by the company, so resale is significant. You're spending $300,000. The next day, you drive by a new car, as everybody knows, you drive it off the lot, it depreciates.
Absolutely.
Some of these cars, just the opposite. So that becomes a consideration. What is the resale value of these $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 cars? And some of these cars, like the 675 LT, the market is $100,000 over what the car sells for new. So it's a pretty good investment. You get 25% return pretty quickly, and we've experienced that as a company with some of these cars. And Ferrari probably has the strongest record. The 675 LT probably has the best record of resale value. But I think historically, Ferrari's going through this transition where this car is a twin turbo, and it doesn't sound the same as the replacement, the 458. It's toned down, and people aren't really, and a lot of that is for CAFE, for corporate average fuel economy, and they save millions and millions of dollars by increasing the average fuel mileage of their models. But at the expense of the true Ferrari guy that says, no, it doesn't sound like my old Ferrari.
Yeah.
So it's helped the prior year Ferraris hold their value,
Right.
but it's hurt the new car in the same with the California.
And you had the 458 Speciale, right?
Oh, that was a very yes. Thank you for. I could kick myself. When we bought the car, when the company bought the car, again the salesperson said, "We're going to make a lot of money on this car. The deal we have is we split the profit." So we sold the car for $150,000 over list, which would have been, say, there's a gentleman that is on TV, and he was married to a singer, and he has a dealership. Because somebody said to him, you have so many cars, why don't you open up a dealership? So he did. So at his dealership is the car that we had.
Oh, so you're talking about Nick Cannon.
Nick Cannon, yes.
Nick
I didn't know
Cannon,
if I could say
recently...
that or not, but yes, Nick
Sure,
Cannon.
why not? Sure.
So he has a dealership, and he has the yellow Aperta. It was called a 458 Aperta, which was the Speciale, but the convertible version was called the Aperta. And he has the car listed for $8,000. So I thought we did well. And we sold the car a little short, but hey, c'est la vie. We life goes on. So yes, that's helped Ferrari, especially with resale value. But the McLaren probably has, of these cars has the best resale value. But I think the F12 TDF would probably do well with that. But
that's an incredible car.
Yeah.
I've seen two in the Valley so far. I'm not sure if they were really local, but I've seen them at one of their Cars and Coffee. Yeah, it's incredible. Now they just came out with the A12 Super Fast.
Yes.
So just in case you didn't know it was fast, it says it right in the name, Super Fast. So.
Yeah. That's the thing that sometimes. They come out with something and you think, and it's marketed as this is the latest, the greatest.
Right.
And they're already working on this right now, but give us 6 months and you're going to see something even better. So that's because we have this F12 TDF, and then I saw the same thing that you did with the Super Fast.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the lines and I'm saying, wow, I thought the TDF, but it's in production. We're going to have it, and we'll see. But it's always something that they're working on that's better than what the car is that it's replacing. So
right, have to keep the market moving and the interest, and people, especially the ones interested in supercars, tend to lose interest pretty quickly. They want to keep moving forward and experiencing different things with their different cars.
Yeah.
There's very few people actually collect them.
yes.
So that's quite interesting with the as opposed to the classic cars where people just kind of want to keep
Yes.
collecting more of those. So what about, we have a little Bugatti here, a 1/18 scale. Are you going to have a 1-to-1 scale here sooner?
We and again, because the cars are all owned by the company. Honestly, we're we'd have to dispose of some of the cars that we have, and hopefully some of your viewers will take advantage of our desire to move some of these cars. And if we were able to do that, we could certainly replace it with a Bugatti. But I will say this, I've seen one in person at the Ferrari dealership, and it's owned by Volkswagen, and they pointed out to me some of the interchangeable parts, and they said, and it's a little thing, but the outside mirrors, they look like the Volkswagen Jetta mirrors, because it's economies of scale. It's easier for them to just put that mirror on a Bugatti. But so there was a couple of little things that they pointed out, and the other thing I don't understand, but I don't need to, is they actually lose money on every Bugatti they sell.
Right.
So how does that work?
It's an advertisement experiment, I think. Something like that.
But I don't think the lines. And if you see it in person, and the scale, it looks and it's cool, and it's very, very unique. But I just don't. I think the Italians, and obviously we're in the Maserati dealership, so I would say this. I should say this, and we don't have any German brands, but I think that the Italians build these really, really sexy cars, right? And they think the McLaren is probably designed by an Italian. I'll tell you something else that Infiniti is using, and they talk about salsa. if I pronounce that correctly. But they have a Latin. It's from Latin America. I don't know which country, but he designed the Q60.
He's Cuban, the guy who designed the car.
Okay.
And Infinitis are making some great looking cars lately.
the
They're
Q60
very,
is
very.
And you're really on top of this stuff, Miguel.
I like this stuff. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, I see that.
So the Infiniti, you were mentioning that you actually have one that as a daily driver, right?
Yes, I have a Q50.
Yeah. So why that one and not a Maserati?
I have a Maserati also.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, no, I have a Maserati Levante S, which I really, really like.
You switch it up a little bit, right?
I get tired of a car. I drive a car for a little while, and then I get tired.
I would too. I would too.
You know, so.
What? If I could, right? So, Rob, now we're gonna get to the part where we're gonna give people a chance to, get a little bit of a discount on one of our cars. So I'm gonna put the coupon right in the description. You can click on that and you can go and if you're looking into buying a car from any of the Bennett family of cars, feel free.
I appreciate that.
So Rob, thank you very much for doing this, and it's a pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure.
Oh, thank you. So,
thank you. Thank you so much. Good seeing you.
Guys, please subscribe, comment below. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, and I'll talk to you next time.